Hello and welcome everyone to episode 120 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super, Kaiju number 8, and many, many more. And, as we sort of said at the end of last week, it's like, all right, we got through, we went down, it's time to go back up.
And believe it or not, going up is even nuttier than going down.
Yeah, seriously.
I think I love just about every interaction in these chapters.
Yeah, it's all, again, just perfect. No, I was thinking about that the other day while I was on a walk, actually. Like, I can't remember the last time I've had, like, a legitimate criticism of the storytelling. It feels like ever since Saboti, it's just been on fire.
Yeah,
like,
we're back and forth of quite a bit with Thriller Bark, but after that point, Thriller Bark was fine. It's a nice
it's
cool down chapter. We have a new appreciation for it after all this, but you really see why it's not as remembered as fondly when you look at everything around it.
Yeah. If anything, since we're over the hump in terms of Impel Down, like, this arc I think is a little underrated.
Yeah, I don't hear it talked about as much, and even when I first read it, it was more like, that was fun. That was crazy.
Right, yeah. It was kind of like, this is the thing on the way to the other thing,
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no. Like, this, I feel like the sort of the structure and the pacing and, all of the twists and turns, of which there are many, and of which we will get to. Yeah, it really just feels, it's just a lot better executed than I remember. And it's like, it's not even that I was ever like, I never disliked this arc or anything. Mm-hmm. It was just like,
it never felt like this was terrible the first time around or anything like that. It's like, all right, get it over with. It was just, that was, a fun little adventure type thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think especially now, again, with the format of this podcast, I feel like you're really able to appreciate a lot of the subtleties and stuff. And I just, now that we're kind of into the going back up part, we have seen basically, like, Luffy has amassed a new crew in the span of like 20 chapters. We've seen him go from all alone to just he's already got, you never would have thought Jinbei or Crocodile.
In the process of these chapters, ever since he lost the crew, he has become, let's go with allies with 3 warlords.
Yes.
Not something you'd expect after the introduction of, when you first were introduced to Crocodile, that's for sure.
Exactly, yeah. It's just, all right. And let's just get into it, man, because now that we've got Crocodile, like, we
got a bit of a wild card here, and more than one, honestly. But let's get to it with chapter 541, The Greatest Ever. And, yay, a little bit more Vivi. I love how she's part of this, so it feels like she's still kind of part of the crew.
Yeah. That was something I'd thought about too. Like, I feel like in terms of characters just kind of getting to hang out on the the cover pages, like, I feel like in terms of like past characters, Vivi probably has like the most.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of, like, outside of cover stories, obviously, of just like random shots of characters. Like, I feel like Vivi has a good chunk of those. So
she's basically an honorary member, which makes sense. Yeah. She would have joined him if she wasn't a princess.
That is, yeah. For sure.
And it's just a cute scene, her learning to cook, her father still spying on her, that sort of thing.
Yeah. We got, was that, is it Lashes?
Yeah, Lashes. Eyelashes.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, let's get into the chapter itself, as Impel Down soldiers have made their way into level 6 and discover a hole in the ceiling and a spiral ramp leading up to level 5. We've got Crocodile and Inazuma working together to allow everybody to escape. And that's just cool. I love Inazuma's powers.
Yeah, I feel like, as we'll see, like shockingly effective.
Mm-hmm. Extremely so.
And here we have, everybody's, all the jailers everybody's freaking out. And then here comes Shiryu, who we're seeing like down here at level 6, just like basically talking smack, like, man, you guys suck.
Yeah, it's like, man, I left and you guys went to hell. What a failure. You guys are so bad at this. But hey, you can tell Magellan that I'm willing to help you out. And it's like,
look, that's a face. You can't help but trust that face, right?
yeah, we got introduced to this guy last time in his bloodthirsty nature, and he's locked up. For some reason, they kept him his uniform. They gave him his uniform, and he got to keep his uniform.
Yeah, seriously.
This will only end well. But we go back to a monitor room where Hannyabal is trying to get things under control. And they're like, okay, so we tried to trap them at level 6, but they outsmarted us. So all 5 of them have gone up to level 5. Do you think I could be held responsible for this too? Well, it's like, well, Magellan was conducting a separate mission, so the blame will all fall on you. No, I can't.
Yeah,
let that happen.
And that's what gets him to go. Again, there's something kind of like how I like talking about Sengoku, where in all of sort of like the build up to the war, where he just looks like a stressed out white collar worker. Like that's the vibe I really get from Hannyabal here. He's just like, oh god,
somebody really wants that next promotion. He's so close, but everything's falling apart around him. So he gets in touch with Sadie, gets in touch with Saldeth, and he's like, all right, everybody get to level 4. I'm willing to risk my life to become the warden. Win this war or die trying.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. And we finally check in with our group where Ivankov is sort of breaking down what needs to happen in order for all of them to escape. It's like, even if we make it to the main hall, we have serious problems. We're unable to escape on the comm belt, so we have to steal some battleships to get to Navy headquarters. And we need more people. So the only way we're going to do this is if we basically free everybody that we come across as we work our way between here and level 1. So let's do it.
We are going to start an honest to God prison riot.
Yes.
Like that is basically what is happening here.
Yep. A riot that is like Impel Down has never seen the greatest ever.
Yes. And not only that, I love it. Ivankov's he's hyping himself up and he's like, all right, let's go, Straw Boy. And Ines was like, oh, he left.
It's like, oh crap, let's go catch up. And we see Bon Clay with him, who also got an energy boost, and he can't stop spinning because he's just that hyped up.
Oh, it's great.
And we get a bit more of a breakdown. It's almost 10 a.m. The execution's at 3 o'clock. They will not execute Ace before that, so Whitebeard is going to make his move somewhere before 3 o'clock. So this war could start at any time. We just got to hope that it all works out, or we can make it in time.
I wonder why that specific time. I don't remember if there's an explanation or if it's just one of those like ceremonial things. We're just like, well, this is the time we decided, so we're going to do it here, and not like a moment sooner. So I will be curious if there is actually an explanation given for that. I genuinely do not remember.
Yeah, I thought it was just a sort of an arbitrary number, honestly.
Right, yeah. That's the thing. It feels arbitrary, but like if all this is happening and Whitebeard is coming, like why not just like execute him here and there? It's like, oh, Whitebeard's here. So
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
It's definitely all leading up to making some sort of statement.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's definitely like I feel like that's the whole thing. And then we've had other characters break that down before, where it's like we know that like doing this is gonna piss off Whitebeard, but like it's worth it for some reason.
For sure. But we get a reintroduction to Crocodile's powers as he uses them to completely break down the doors in front of them and make their way to level 4. And it's just that brutal effectiveness of him.
Right. that line, he's just like, this right hand holds the power of thirst itself. In 2024, it has a very different meaning, but it's very funny.
Very much does. And honestly, I kind of love the cravat that he has. He's very stylish right now as he's making the escape. It looks pretty sweet. And I probably should have noticed this sooner, but of course, Jinbei has the sun tattoo on his chest.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course he does.
Should have noticed that, obviously.
Yeah, just to point that out. Yeah, for sure.
I think it's a good point. I think at this point, it's just like every Fishman pirate we've met has that tattoo.
Yeah, and I'm glad we got the explanation before, because I had forgotten that it was like not all of them. That like having the tattoo does not necessarily mean you are part of the Sun Pirates, but it is more of like a mark of freedom, basically, of like emancipation.
Right.
Although there's probably a good chance that Jinbei was on the Sun Pirates. I also kind of don't remember.
I have no idea on that one, but he makes a great impression. Like we get a demonstration of what they're capable of here, because obviously being made of sand, bullets do nothing to Crocodile, and he's able to use the Crescent Cutlass to just take away all their moisture. And Luffy's able to use his new Gum Rain to just take out a bunch of guys. And we get to see the Fishman Karate with Jinbei, the Arabesque Brisk Fist. And it seems like nothing happens. I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden I can't even tell what happens. I think he just sort of flashes forward and just takes out a whole swath of them.
It looks like a 1-inch punch.
Yeah. That's the closest I can figure out. And this is a far greater version of Fishman Karate than we saw back with Arlong.
Yeah. If there was ever any doubt, Jinbei is strong.
Yeah, these guards are in not great we're and they realize that. It's like we're up against a pirate worth 300 million berries and 2 warlords. We got to just hold them off until reinforcements come.
That panel of them all lined up together is so awesome.
We get such good lineups.
I never would have thought I would see Crocodile and Luffy fighting together alongside another warlord. It rules.
Speaking of ruling, we get to see what Buggy and Mr. 3 have been up to all this time. They have made their way up to level 2 Beast Hell. Good on them.
I have to imagine, because we see them like, it almost looks like they're in like a candle box that looks like it's blending into the environment. You know, they're just hiding out. So I wonder if they just like snuck up like in a wax box like freaking Solid Snake.
Kind of. We get a little bit of that flashback there, because after being chased by the wolves on level 5, hiding behind walls to sneak past their surveillance, and tiptoeing around for the last 20 hours in our great Buggy and Mr. 3 adventure, we've made it all the way back to level 2.
That sounds like a filler episode for the anime.
Right. It easily could be, but it's really funny to see those examples of the candle walls, the candle floors, as they try to just avoid all this stuff.
That's so good. Oh, yeah, and it looks like, Mr. 3 made duplicate keys to release the prisoners.
Yeah, and that's where we, Buggy and Mr. 3 unintentionally helping out, because I think they hear like there's chaos down below. That's their cue. Time to start freeing prisoners on level 2. So now there's a pincer attack and there's multiple things happening on multiple floors. The entire prison is in chaos. It's not just floor by floor, and it's not just Luffy and a few other prisoners. It's everybody. Yeah,
and I love that. Yeah, Buggy's basically like, we're going to take advantage of the chaos to skedaddle, which is, you can already see where this is going, where this is like accidentally the same plan Luffy has.
Right? And it's like, well, Straw Hat and Mr. 2 are already dead, and if they're not, there's nothing we can do for them. They'll spend the rest of their lives behind bars. We have to worry for ourselves. And he just rallies all these prisoners like, yeah, Captain Buggy's our savior.
Yeah, I love this. This, I don't know if I should get too ahead of myself here, but this is the beginning of a running gag.
Amazing.
This is the beginning of Buggy the Savior.
That's so good. And Hannyabal just keeps getting this info. It's like, prisoner broken out into rioting. We need the Blue Gory. We can't restrain him by ourselves. And yeah, it's just not looking good. Speaking of, how about another person to come along with us? Reuniting Mr. 1 and Crocodile.
Yeah. Which is funny that, again, they refused to escape back in the cover story, but now, he's just like, all right, come with me. So
yeah,
man, it really is. We got the whole squad here in terms of Baroque works. Well, not the whole squad, but we got a whole bunch of them.
It feels like Crocodile only really trusted Mr. 1.
Yeah.
To some degree.
Well, yeah, I wonder, like, how much he trusts Mr. 1 versus, like, Robin.
Yeah, I think Robin was just a means to an end for him. I don't think he fully trusted her, just especially because of the way her reputation at the time.
Yeah.
But I think Mr. 1, he is able to more firmly control and figure out.
Yeah, Mr. 1 is very more obviously just like a goon.
Yeah.
and I mean, in no offense, but like, yeah, that's what he is.
Yeah. He is muscle, and he understands he's muscle, and he's willing to just go along with it.
Indeed.
It works. But it's I don't know, kind of fun to see them reuniting. Hannibal is getting more updates. It's like, even Kav, Inazuma, and your hated enemy Mr. 2 are back, and they brought an army with them.
Is that because he tied him up?
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
So Hannyabal
I
hates
love
Mr.
that
2 now.
very specifically.
And it's not only do they have an army, it's all the prisoners who disappeared because of the devil's invitation. It's like, oh, things are not good. And I even like this interaction where Bon Clay's like, oh my gosh, Mr. 1. And Luffy's like, who's he? He's like, oh, he was defeated by Zoro. Never heard of him.
Oh, yeah. Just a quick little like, oh yeah, let's get Luffy caught up on this guy. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yep. And you kind of feel bad for Hannibal at this point because he's like, oh God, what do I do?
Yeah. That panel of him just like hands up to his head. And he's just like, he's stressed out, man.
We've got an army of crazies. Even Koff deciding to use Emporio face growth Symphonist to make his head even bigger.
I did not think his head could get any bigger.
It is frightening to see how it towers over them, because this spread at the end of the chapter is amazing, where we got these drag queens, Inazuma, Luffy kicking in the front, Jinbei, Crocodile, Mr. 1 kicking, Mr. 1 there. It is just an army, and they're ready to, they're dressed to kill and ready to go
dressed to kill.
Navy headquarters.
What a way to end the chapter.
I love it.
Yeah. Again, we're moving into the final act here. It's just full-born chaos. Like, let's go.
You cannot stop it. This is just happening now.
Yep.
And I'm all about it. It's that nice resurgence and like desperation. We only have a few hours. We need to get up there. We can't waste time with this.
Absolutely.
So let's get to chapter 542. Yet another epic incident. And yeah, here's Karu again.
Yeah, it's good to see him.
And time for a little check-in on Ace, where they're learning about the unprecedented riot, and the ringleader is Luffy. Meanwhile, Ace is just sort of shackled up, looking at stuff, not talking, and he's getting ready to be transported away by this Onigumo. I like that we're not seeing Ace's internal thoughts. It's very much like Luffy that way.
It sort of feels like he's resigned himself, almost.
He's resigned himself, but I think he's also very much concerned about Luffy.
Right, yeah. It's like he's not really concerned about himself at this point.
I think it's very smart. It worked out in its own ways that the manga, of course, had that cover story where we got to spend more time with Ace, because Ace was not in the manga nearly as much as he was in the anime. But that's why it worked out in the anime's favor, because they don't really adapt chapter stories anymore. Not like the Buggy and Kobe one that they did a long time ago. But he spent way more time with him in filler in Alabasta. So trust me, there's enough of a connection built up that this is Luffy's brother and he's kind of awesome. So to see Ace like this, you immediately have that connection. It worked out in both mediums.
Well, I definitely think you had to be the kind of person who would pay attention to the cover stories like over a period of time. But I also think like in terms of real world time, because that was like Alabasta was like the early 2000s basically, like 99 2001 maybe.
Yeah.
And so that is like maybe like 8 or 9 years of real world time to be like, man, when's Ace coming back like into the main story? And so I feel like it is sort of like a buildup of those expectations and a buildup of like, we introduced this really cool character, but when are we going to see him again? And like things are kind of, I guess that's why I love the way that the whole subplot with Ace tracking down Blackbeard was the way that it has gradually woven its way into the main story like this. I feel like is brilliant, because it is a long period of real world time.
In a lot of ways, and we've said this before, Drum Island has led directly to this as far as Ace's story. Since we first heard about it, it's just been this background element. And again, have another demonstration of how Oda's background elements work. But either way, we go back to Sengoku. Time for more troubles for him. It's like, okay, we can't find him. Who? Blackbeard. Blackbeard cannot be found. And a battleship that wasn't given clearance to embark arrived just now at Impel Down. We don't know if it's related, but...
What do you mean you don't think it's related?
It's related. Turns out Blackbeard and his crew have arrived at Impel Down and just start attacking. They start using his powers to just start getting in there.
Yeah, and I love Blackbeard's like, it's all right, I'm with the government now.
Honestly, his crew still looks boss as hell. Although I
Yeah.
didn't realize the guy that was the messenger to send Goku to get Blackbeard as part of the warlords. I think I forgot that he can grow wings, or is this the first time we saw him grow wings? It's kind of wild.
That is a good question. I don't know.
I think this is the first time. So
yeah,
it would explain how we
know.
got up to Sengoku's office, because that's definitely not on the first floor.
Yeah.
But God, I love this crew. Like, there's something like just immediately just so engrossing about all of their designs.
They're all very memorable and unique. Like you can tell that like these are characters that you're meant to remember, right? Like
Oh yeah.
clearly Blackbeard is just not another kind of like throwaway character.
Oh no, not at all. And yeah, they're like, yeah, the crew, the Navy crew of that his warship has been annihilated, and he just, as he's walking towards Impel Down, he just sends out the annihilation, the liberation, and sends out all the stuff that he gathered up in his darkness powers and sends it back at them, including people.
Yeah. And I love the guy in the comms is just like, he's entering the building with clear malicious intent. We don't know what he wants. And then here, poor Hannibal starts foaming at the mouth just due to sheer stress.
Every 2 levels, there's somebody causing issues at Impel Down. It is not good. And he just decides, okay, what's the plan? Let's go back to the mono room and eat some rice cakes.
Yes. Again, man, he's just like me for real. Just like, all right, we're going to start stress eating.
That's the only thing we can do at this point. But that's when he gets a call where he's heard from Magellan, who has already taken care of everybody on level 1 or level 2.
Yeah. So that, well, God, I love this because, well, you see Magellan first, like, you know, he's like, I don't know why Blackbeard would attack us, you know, like, we basically, we have to deal with this ourselves, and is like, telling Hannibal, like, do what you can to suppress the riot at level 4. Try to hold out until I arrive. And so you're seeing, like, this, they're actually, like, working together. And then the way that Hannibal is like, yeah, Warden, and he starts dancing.
It's like, oh, they bonded.
Yeah, it's just, there's something really adorable about it, but also, like, dear God, Magellan and his brutal efficiency.
It's incredible. Like, obviously, these are only level 2 prisoners, and Buggy hasn't been hit by the poison yet, but the doors have been sealed off, so he can't really move forward.
Yeah, I love it. He's like, he plays dirty.
But it's not so good. And again, Magellan did say, hold out. I've already taken a measure against Blackbeard. And we get a sense of what that measure is. As
Yeah.
back down on level 6, Shiryu of the Rain has been released from his cell. And he's like, yep, I've learned my lesson. Endless boredom is worse than death. But you're not going to make me work and then put me straight back in the shell. Right, Magellan? He's like, you're on a reprieve. There won't be a next time. All right, I'll keep that in mind. And they give him back his sword. He's like, all right, take care of Blackbeard for me. Right. And he immediately cuts down all the men, like, watching him. Yeah, he's still bloodthirsty.
This seems like a problem.
This seems like a very poor plan.
I think it is incredible how quickly chaos has ensued. Just
Yeah.
like, and that was sort of something I struggled with when I read this for this episode of the podcast. But it's like, we're dealing with basically the entire like length of Impel Down, or I guess the height rather. So it's everything is happening on all floors all of the time. And so it can be a little bit tricky to remember, like, wait, who is where?
Yeah, and Oda does his best to clearly label who's where and who's doing what. But it's I mean, how else? Like, rather than one individual person making it out, that was a blemish on them. Now we have potentially the entirety or most of the entirety of Impel Down getting out of this prison that nobody has broken out of, save for one. So
Yep.
This is a true blemish for them, and no wonder Magellan's desperate enough to release Shiryu. Like, on the surface, it's like, how could you be so stupid to do this? But on the other hand, it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, they are understaffed. Like,
They do not have enough strong people to take care of this problem.
Yeah, and I guess that also is kind of genius on Oda's part too, because Magellan is such a powerful character, but like he has to be on the toilet like 12 hours a day.
Yeah, he's definitely incapacitated a lot, which means he delegates it out to a lot of other people who are strong individually. But when you get enough of these prisoners out who are strong, and he can take care of a good bit, but there's a certain point where you get those level 6 prisoners and, well, things do not go too well.
Oh boy.
So we go back to everybody still fighting their way through level 4. They've reached the guard room, took the keys, releasing more prisoners, and the Blugori have shown up, and we see Saldeath commanding him with his flute pitchfork, as we see here.
Yeah, which is a funny little detail.
It is, and SBS actually addresses this. I didn't notice this earlier. Somebody else did, as we talked about in SBS, but this is the first I noticed, like, oh, that's clever. He can actually, that's how he commands the Blugori. Fun.
Yeah.
Blugori don't matter, because we got the reason that freaking Ivankov inflated his head. It's so he can have the hell wink. His winks are even more strong, even stronger.
And you have a bigger face, so you have a bigger eyes. So I guess, you know what, that makes sense. Sure, why not?
More powerful wink and blows away all the Blugori.
Yeah, I don't get him. What is he? It almost looks like his head has been getting bigger and bigger. The way that like Ivankov, he calls out to Luffy. And he's just like, hey, keep going forward. And just like that panel. The size difference is just so funny. He
could eat Luffy at this point.
Yeah, seriously.
Although, I mean, it does say how strong he is that his body can support that giant head.
Yeah, no, I feel like we have amassed a very powerful crew of allies here.
For sure. But we got our next problem. The jailer beasts, along with Sadie, have arrived, and they are starting to wreak havoc through the prisoners. And it's not going well. And that's when I like this sort of I don't know. I feel like there's this bond between Jinbei and Luffy right away. Probably because Jinbei feels like he needs to protect Luffy in honor of
Ace. Yeah,
because
he has his friendship with Ace. So yeah, I mean, he's like, I guess that's what makes Jinbei such a fascinating character as we know him right now, because he is obviously like he's what's the word? He seems very humble and very principled.
Yes. And he's like, I don't know how good I'll do on land. He's like, really? You seem pretty strong.
yeah, seriously.
But yeah, everybody's getting taken out by these the jailer beasts. It's not looking so good for them. And Sadie's, of course, loving it. She's
yeah, just a bit,
just having a grand old time. But no. Oh gosh, I just noticed that the koala uses spiked fists.
Oh, it's like a gangster.
I know. It's like, oh my gosh, it's brutal what they're doing to these prisoners. It's like, oh god, it's killing me. But we get Gear 3, Fishman Karate 5000 Brick, and of course Crocodile, who takes out each one on their own.
Man, what a final spread for this chapter 2. Again, it talked about earlier about like seeing these three characters fight together is so just like unfathomably cool, but like
God, this jailbreak would not be possible if these three were not working together.
Yeah, seriously. Oh man, it's great. And I feel like it makes sense too, because we've seen that Luffy's able to handle like the jailer beasts. Like they're good.
Yeah. Like if Luffy got caught, he'd be a level 6 prisoner, let's be honest.
Seriously.
Those are the ones you really don't want to let out. But oh boy, it's just fun. Oh god, I love seeing it's just like seeing them run wild and making that progress. Like every line of defense, they're just slowly working their way through, or quickly, depending on your view of things, because they are running rampant.
Yeah. We
do have an SBS, and one of them is, okay, I gotta know, is Ivankov's eyelashes, are they real or do they apply them? Because I can't get my own winks to that strong despite applying 2 layers of eyelashes. Like, nope, those are homegrown. And the death, I also get letters if the death wink uses hockey, but no, it's simply a blast of wind when he blinks, which is,
dear God,
holy crap. Really gives a sense to Ivankov's strength.
Yeah, seriously.
And the other one's just fun. It's like, hey, Adachi, I'm studying for my entrance exams and I can't concentrate. I need some motivation. Say something to get me motivated. Say something to all the students around the country. And he's like, hey, let's go read some manga. Let's watch some movies like Strong World and then study a lot.
Hey, it's not even out yet.
Well, it might be. I forget how long after the chapters that the volume comes out.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. So yeah, it might actually be out.
Yeah. Hard to say.
Potentially.
Either way, let's do it. Chapter 543, Straw Hat and Blackbeard, which is just...
When I saw this chapter title, I got a little giddy.
Oh, for sure. And it's time for our next limited cover series, number 11, Sanji's Kamabaka Hell Insanity. Adventure on the island of No Way Out. And he is still being chased by the Okama.
Yeah, he's got the butterfly net. You see the painting of Ivankov in the background, so there were, we got that connection now finally. But
yep.
Godspeed, Sanji. Godspeed. You get what's coming to you.
Yeah, I mean, granted, he is being chased with a net, so
right, a normal reaction for anybody, for sure. But,
sure, maybe a little bit more unfortunate because of complications, but. Let's get into the chapter itself, where we pick up at level 1, and they're raising the bridge to prevent Blackbeard from making it over and making it there. And it's like, they've betrayed us. We've got to stop them. And that's when all of a sudden here's Shiryu. It's like, what do you expect from pirates?
Made it all the way up from level 6 to level 1.
Got that express elevator. And Blackbeard notices, like, that one looks like trouble. Is that Magellan? It's like, you must be Blackbeard. Marshall D. Teach. Who are you?
Yeah. Oh.
And it's just, that'll be an interesting fight.
Yeah, what an interesting interaction we've got going on here. Also, I don't think there's a translation note for it. The kanji on the back of Shiryu's jacket, I think it says hell.
Oh, it's not justice. It's just hell. Wow.
No. Yeah. It's definitely not justice. I think it's hell. It's a little cut off.
It would make sense. But back to Luffy's group, and they're like, we're in trouble. There's no way we can stop them without the jailer beasts who, are all knocked out. And all the regular prisoners are like, hey, nothing can stop us now. Let's keep going. And it's just fight after fight after fight. Everybody getting taken down.
Yeah, keep pushing.
Mm-hmm. And we get a sense of how strong Sadie is, because she steps in front of him, has her own whip. Get a odd potential South Park reference with the respect my authority.
What that is?
I don't know.
Probably not, but
probably not. But it's hard to see that line and not think of South Park. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Here's an encounter I was not expecting. Like, Ivankov basically runs right in and is just like, all right.
It's just like, hey, don't bother with her. Keep going. I'll take care of it. And Ivankov has used their hormones, so we get female Ivankov.
Yeah.
Which I think is an excuse from Oda. Is like, well, I don't have any female characters to fight Sadie, so Ivankov, you're up. Yeah. We have our excuse.
I love that Sadie calls it an anarchist who never takes sides.
I feel like being a woman right now.
It's just so casual.
Gotta love the adjustment of Ivankov's suit.
Yeah.
Before, that was not covering what it's covering now.
Good point.
But Inazuma stepping up is like, it's like, hey, we need to get going. Stairwells nearby. While Luffy's like, who's she? She talks like Ivankov.
Poor Luffy.
Doesn't understand.
Yep. All right.
But that's when we get some words as Inazuma's rushing forward. This is the fortress of hell. No one shall escape. And here's Hannyabal taking out people.
Looking like a boss, by the way. Just twirling around that spear. Like, he actually looks really sick in the scene.
Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, Hannibal is not just a joke.
Yeah, no, seriously. Oh, and even more importantly, like, you sort of see the way that he calls out Luffy. He's like, I'm not gonna, let you go free and terrorize helpless citizens. Like, I'll execute you in the place of the warden. And so I feel like this isn't a long sequence, but you get a little bit of, like, kind of how Hannibal feels about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think this interaction, and it's so easily overlooked. This is our justification for all of these criminals are being treated terribly. But we've seen how a lot of pirates act. and how they terrorize the citizenry. They are protecting the general population. Like, we like Luffy, we like a lot of these characters, but look at what Crocodile's done. Look at what Shiryu's done. Look at what any number of these prisoners have done and how they act. Yeah, the common person would not want these people running free.
And that really, we'll get to it in just a second, but like the sort of the, I like seeing the sense of justice and the sense of right and wrong from characters, because everybody does kind of have a different sense of right and wrong. It makes sense that for, you know, even if it's portrayed in kind of a goofy light with, you know, just like this horrible prison that we're in, you know, like these like Hannibal's not an evil person, you know. Well, okay, maybe you know, I think what Oda, I feel like, is trying to portray here is more like all of these characters are doing things because they believe in what they think is right.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I liked about this, like weirdly kind of poignant characterization from Hannibal during this fight.
Yeah. And honestly, we would never get this kind of characterization from Sadie because she just
right, yeah.
She's just too much of a sadist. And Magellan maybe get a little bit of, but with him, I think it definitely works the best coming from Hannibal, because he's the goofball.
Yeah. He's the most, like I said, he's the most like a white collar worker. he's the most like an average person here. You know, he's a middle manager who just wants a promotion.
He's like, I want to be top manager. This is what I want to do. And we get to see his Inferno Hell Wheel, which does look pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, they didn't make me the Underwarden of Impel Down for nothing. Yeah, that doesn't stand up to the Gum Jet Gatling.
Yeah, of course not. And I think, again, it's almost sympathetic in a weird way, because like this whole sequence is like Hannibal he's on the back foot, you know, he's the one getting up over and over again over an overwhelming force, right?
He's trying to take out Luffy. He's trying to hold him back, and he, like, even as Luffy just tries to run past him, he's grabbing at him or stabbing at him to try to prevent him to go through. Luffy doesn't, you know, has no interest in finishing him off or anything like that, but he's just constantly attacking, forcing Luffy to, well, retaliate. And
yeah,
not going so well for Hannibal for sure. And even the jailer's just like, please stop, sir, you'll be killed. And we see he's in rough shape. His headdress is disheveled, his wings are torn up. He's not looking so good.
Yeah.
And I think this is the dialogue you were talking about before, where in any other series, any other context, this is kind of a hero shot for him.
Exactly, right? Like he's kind of framed like the good guy in the situation.
Yeah, he's bloodied, but he's standing his ground against all these escaping prisoners. It's like, you're nothing but pirates and rebels who became notorious. You want to rescue your brother? A ne'er-do well like you has no right to say that. If you roam the seas again, law-abiding citizens would live in such fear for their loved ones they couldn't sleep at night. This prison was a warehouse for is supposed to be a warehouse for scum like you, so that decent people could live in peace. If you get out, you'd terrorize the world, and I'm not going to let that happen.
Again, yeah, I feel like that's what I really love about the sequence, that it really is like, with all we've seen from Hannibal, you know, as this sort of like kind of mildly scummy middle manager, like he has actual principles, you know, like he's, you know, he feels like he's doing this for a reason and that he's here for a reason. And like Luffy's only response is that, like, I can't let them kill Ace, get out of my way, which I feel like this really is kind of like that clash, like, I don't want to go as far as to say that Luffy doesn't care, but it's more that, like, it's like they're talking past each other, if anything.
Right, because Luffy is very single-minded. He needs to get the Ace. We understand he needs to get the Ace. He needs to release these prisoners in order to save Ace. But Hannibal is very much pointing out there's a consequence to doing all this. Like, yeah, Mr. Two's a bro. I don't think we have to worry about too much about him. Jinbei seems honorable enough, and, you know, Inazuma and even Kav are very much on the side, you know, part of the rebels, but I don't think the rebels want to do anything against the people. It's more the government. But then you look at people like Crocodile and Mr. One.
Yeah, let alone all of the other, you know, any number of ne'er-do-wells, you know, just your kind of average run-of-the-mill pirate, right? Mm-hmm. So, in that sense, it is almost kind of like Hannibal is right, but it is because he's up against Luffy, who is just trying to save his brother, you know, that it does sort of pit it pits these ideals against each other in an interesting way.
For sure. It's way more fascinating than you would think from a character like this. And then it gets brushed aside, ironically enough, by a person of the government, technically, as Blackbeard is like justice and evil. No matter where you go in this world, you're not going to find the answer to that. It's a waste of time. And he just
smashes poor Hannibal in the face, just steps on him,
knocks him out. And yeah, it's we get to see. Is it just me, or I didn't realize that all of Blackbeard's crew was massive.
They are all huge. Like they are all like you can see the comparison to Luffy, and like he's so tiny compared to all of them. And they're all about the same height too, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more of this we're going to get, but I feel like with Blackbeard's words here about, of justice and evil, like you're not going to find the answer. It's all a waste of time. Like it feels very much like Blackbeard is like the nihilism. Like he is the nothing matters to what matters to Luffy and what matters to Hannibal, of like what they believe is good and just and evil. And here's this agent of chaos who just doesn't care about any of it.
Yet he still has a dream. He's different from Doflamingo in that way. Because Doflamingo's, and by extension Bellamy, we're talking about the age of dreams is over. But
yeah.
Blackbeard refutes that.
Exactly.
So he still believes in dreams. He just has a nihilistic edge about it, it seems.
Yeah, there's a lot about that I feel like I could dig into, but oh boy, we'll get there when we get there.
For sure. But of course, Jinbei immediately says, "What are you doing here, Blackbeard?" And Luffy's immediately like, "Blackbeard," and we get the memories. Is like, I'm hunting a man called Blackbeard right now from Ace, and Blackbeard, from their first meeting, people's dreams don't ever end. And then it seems the pirate called Blackbeard captured Ace. And it's like, oh, I had
Luffy's
no idea.
Pissed. Yeah. Luffy is pissed.
Oh, yeah.
And then here we have Blackbeard just, trying to egg him on, where, he's just like, I'm surprised to find out that, Ace is your brother. And it's like, are you sure you want to be hanging around here? Your brother's about to lose his head.
And that's how we ended. And
oh boy.
Oh, what a confrontation this is.
Who would have thought, right? Like Blackbeard would come to crash the party and have a standoff against Luffy.
I completely forgot that Blackbeard showed up at all to this.
Yeah. Oh man.
I don't know his purpose. I don't know why he's here. It makes so little sense to me. Like, was he counting on Luffy to cause issues, or did he just plan to cause issues himself? Because I feel like he would have had a much harder time if Magellan wasn't distracted.
Yeah, and that's what's so exciting about Blackbeard too, is because it is kind of like the first time we've really seen him in action proper. We saw him fight Ace, but like here he is being kind of like an active character in the story for the first time since Jaya. And it's just like, who is this guy? He is the reason that all of this has kicked off. He's the reason that Luffy's here trying to save his brother. And it's just like, you don't quite know what he's after. And so that's what makes him so compelling as kind of the chaos agent in the situation.
I can't not find myself fascinated by Blackbeard at all times.
Yeah,
he's such an
interesting character.
We do have an SBS, and this is the one where the person spotted that Saladeth controls the Blue Gory with the flute, which is fun, cool, all that. But I do want to bring special mention. We haven't talked about these fan submitted SBS ones, but this one caught my eye just because it's so clever.
Yeah.
Where it's a reference to Hancock destroying the children's statue that was made of her, and it formed the pieces formed the SBS. I'm like, that's so clever.
Yeah. Never underestimate One Piece fans, man.
No, not at all. And then the other question is, why do all the inhabitants of New Common Land wear fishnet stockings? Do you like fishnet stockings? Tell me. It's like, well, yeah, I wear fishnet stockings with a fur coat and nothing else when I draw my manga. As well.
Oda, please.
As for the reason why the people of New Common Land wear them, well, they were there. It's just kind of like a mountain climber climbs because the mountain is there.
Interesting answer.
Yeah, they're just there. Why not? Well, time for chapter 544. The lid to the cauldron of hell opens. And we're already done. That's it for Sanji's cover story.
One of the girls.
Yep. He has fully become integrated, has a lovely new dress. He's playing in the water with all of his new kama. And, well, there we go.
Yeah. I'll be excited to see more of these if all the other one, if we're just going to like check in with all the other Straw Hats and just for like 2 chapters.
I guess so. It's kind of funny to have the cover series be so short.
Yeah, it's just like boom, boom. All right, beginning, end.
Yeah,
you see where they start, where they
end. He's part of them.
Yeah, he got caught.
We might have a very new Sanji whenever whenever they finally reunite.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the chapter itself, and we get some dialogue here from Blackbeard.
This is very fascinating.
It's like, oh, after first meeting you, I found out that you were the one that defeated Crocodile. So I wanted to become one of the 7 warlords, so I figured the best way to show the government that I was the man for the job was to bring them your head. But fate ended up protecting you. Ace had been chasing me after I committed a terrible crime aboard Whitebeard's ship, and by curious coincidence, he was your brother. So, because I said I was going to kill you, he wasn't able to turn back. So you see, if he let us go, he not only would he defile the name of Whitebeard, his own brother would be killed. And his crew is just like, yep, it's only fate. You're a lucky man.
Yeah, and then now that Blackbeard has become a warlord, he doesn't need Luffy's head anymore. There's something about like the way that Blackbeard really lays this all out. It really feels like he was scheming this the whole time.
It does. Like, it doesn't feel intentional because we saw him actively chasing Luffy before they made the way to Skypiea. Like, He was ready to take Luffy's head then and there. There's a point where it's like, it seems that was the case. We saw him still trying to find Luffy, but to come across Ace did seem to work out for him. And it's why you can see them being so into the idea of fate. But of course, he sets Luffy off as like, you better thank Ace at his grave. If he hadn't shown up, you'd be dead. And Luffy's just like, try me now. And he just punches him right in the gut, sending him flying back.
Yeah, and you can feel Luffy's rage.
Oh yeah,
in this. Yeah,
he's ready to end him, and does not work out so well. He's able to counter the jet pistol with his black vortex, and just slams Luffy into the ground. Catches Luffy, slams him into the ground, and Crocodile's confused, like, wait, blood? Isn't he made of rubber?
So that's fascinating to me, because we saw with the fight against Ace, he could negate devil fruit powers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess the easiest assumption is that. I was like, was it that, or did he use hockey, or both? But
could be, because he definitely is aware of hockey. Because Jinbei steps in and it's like, no, that's enough. Control your tempo. Remember what you're here for. That man's been a mystery to me since the first time I saw him on Whitebeard's ship. I don't know where we got it, but right now he has the power to even to defeat Ace. So don't waste your time or energy. That's when Blackbeard comments, like, your hockey is stronger than the last time I saw you, which I like that indication that Luffy's had hockey this entire time. It's just been sort of dormant.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? What I will say is that makes sense. I feel like once we get the proper explanation about what hockey is, I feel like that makes sense. And that's not like a big thing or anything, but I feel like I should wait for the proper explanation before I say what I was going to say. But what I will say is that I love Jinbei. He is already the way in which he already is able to like take note of the situation and like basically like keep Luffy like keep your mind on the goal, right? Like, we're not here for this. Stop. And so he really feels like, even right now, even though they just met, like they feel like, their friend.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say Jinbei's probably my favorite of the warlords already.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely the least crazy.
Yeah. Ended up with a bunch of these weirdos.
Yeah, for sure. I like this part too from Crocodile, where, he's just like, I'd heard some no-name pirate from Whitebeard's ship took my place, but like, he's like, yeah, like you were summoned to Navy headquarters and yet you're here. So obviously you have forfeited the title of warlord. So like what's up with that? And then Blackbeard's just like, everything's according to plan. And it's like, oh, there's no reason I need to tell you. And Crocodile's like, I don't really care. So I feel like that is important to point out, that by doing this, even though Blackbeard wanted to become a warlord for some reason, it seems that he got what he wanted out of it, and was maybe potentially like using his position as a warlord just to come to Impel Down.
That seems to be the case right now. That's the only thing I can really figure out, is that he, for whatever reason, he wanted to get into Impel Down.
and clearly doesn't need it now that he's here. He's just like, all right, I'm good. I got whatever he's here for. He feels comfortable enough that he's going to get it, and is willing to sacrifice his status as a warlord.
His plan is definitely all over the place, but it's at this point that Magellan has shown up, and even Kav is like, this is bad. We need to go. Or more specifically, you guys need to go. If you get hit by Magellan's poison again, nothing can save you. So
we already saw what happened the first time.
Mm-hmm. So get to level 3.
Yeah, and I love that Blackbeard points out like the Fracas is making my job a lot easier. So whatever he's here for, he's just like, all right, I'm just gonna walk right in.
I mean, they both made their lives easier because of Blackbeard taking out the guards on the stairway. They can easily make their way up to level 3, and well, Blackbeard can go the opposite direction. So
yep,
they kind of helped each other out. But then here comes the Minotaur again.
Yeah, the jailer beasts are back up. And here's where I had to take a little bit of a double take.
Oh boy.
Because I was like, what on earth? Because they're back up, Bon Clay's like, I thought we already beat it. And here's freaking Crocodile, where he says they won't stay down for long. They all have devil fruit powers. They're awakened Zoan types.
The hell does that mean?
I know what that means. Why did he say that here?
I have no idea what that means. Apparently these things are all devil fruit users, which...
Yeah, that is actually something I did forget. I thought they were just, goofy cartoon animals, but no, they're all devil fruit users.
Yeah, which is fascinating because they don't talk. They just... I don't know what's going on with that. They don't act like any other Zoan type that we've seen up to this point. So what does awakened means? Do you give up your conscious in order to become more powerful? But it also is interesting because we have a Zoan type in our crew, which leads us is definitely feels like potential setup as well for making Chopper a bit more powerful.
For sure, yeah. It's just like the explanation is coming. I know exactly when the explanation for this is.
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
No, yeah, it is. It is a while.
Oh boy.
It'll be a while. Unless there are other hints that get dropped, which I certainly could forget. But for what I know is the first formal explanation is like, I remember when I got to that point, it felt really out of nowhere. And yet now here it is in Impel Down where Crocodile just says it casually. Like, oh yeah, by the way, like, what? so yeah, that's a thing. I can't wait to talk about that. But I did want to throw this out here because I actually don't know. I think the reason that they don't talk is because they are awakened, but I also might wonder because they don't outright say that they were human, right? Just that they have devil fruits. So it could be another Vegapunk thing where they're inanimate objects that got fed devil fruits.
Possibly. It is very possible.
I genuinely don't know either way, which is why I'm just throwing that out there. But knowing what I, as a current manga reader, know about awakened devil fruits, the way that they act lines up with that.
Huh.
So there you go.
Very interesting. Yeah. But this also, like, it's maybe not something you would have thought about at first, but it's like where Magellan has learned that Blackbeard has appeared at the stairway to level 3, and he's like, wait, I thought Shiryu was going to deal with Blackbeard. Did he get defeated already?
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah. Turns out, no, Shiryu was not defeated. Apparently, he didn't do anything at all because all the videos we see with transponder snails have been destroyed. And he's just like, no, don't tattle. You'll make Magellan come over here. So
he's a traitor.
Yeah, he's shock.
Yeah, and just, well, for sure, I don't know exactly why, and again, I don't know if we'll ever get an explanation for why, but you can definitely understand he probably doesn't like Magellan. I think based on the information that we have, he's probably like, all right, okay, he finally let me out of my jail cell. I'm just gonna screw him over a little bit.
I could definitely see that. Well, he's just like, oh, I'm on the top floor. I'm gonna leave.
Bye.
Yeah. That's when Magellan's trying to get it all under control again. It's like, all right, send someone to confirm what's happening. If Blackbeard's reached this level, then he must have crashed through the gate on level 2. Nothing's going our way. How could a single intruder spark all this mayhem? And meanwhile, sure. we go back to Buggy and Mr. 3, who have just become utter bros.
Yes.
We're the lucky Flashmen. Because of Blackbeard coming along, they're able to just get out of level 2 now.
It's great. It's so great. All of what I love about this sequence of chaos, it really does feel like everything has consequences, right? There's always an action and a reaction. And so we're getting all these little bits of like, because this character did this thing, that caused all of these other things to happen.
And that's a core writing tenet where if your story is, and then this happened, and then this happened, that is a failure of your story. It really should be this happened, which caused this to happen, which caused that to happen.
Yeah. This whole arc feels like a stack of dominoes.
It absolutely is. And Luffy walks by Blackbeard declaring he's going to rescue Ace. And he's like, I won't say you're wasting your time. Nothing's impossible. After all, Sky Island existed, didn't it? And it's the same with One Piece. It definitely exists. Which...
That's what makes... God, Blackbeard is so fascinating. Because he's... I don't want to say similar to Luffy, but in terms of, like, dreams and the way that it's almost like Luffy saying nothing is impossible and Blackbeard saying nothing is impossible are two very different statements.
Yeah.
But they're both the same statement.
Exactly. And he's definitely up to something else because in a few short hours, we're going to put on a show that will shake the world. The hell does that mean?
What is going on?
Like, we had Luffy, we had the Whitebeard pirates, and we had the government. And now all of a sudden, here's the fourth faction, which is just randomly Blackbeard.
Yeah, yep. No, man, things have gotten so complicated. I love it.
But as they all leave to head to level 3, we get to see what happened to Sadie in her fight against Ivankov. And, well, Ivankov offered a present to fans. Have them tied and bound, like, let's do... Although it is kind of ironic that they do this to this masochistic treatment to a sadist.
Yeah. Well, I love that she said, life isn't worth living if I'm not the one inflicting the pain.
Oh, gosh. And that's when Magellan comes across Blackbeard. And it's like, oh, this ought to be an interesting fight. And instead, Blackbeard just covers them all in the poison.
Or Magellan.
It burns. It's like, nope, I've got neither the time nor the inclination to ask why you're here.
Yeah, man, Magellan is so, again, brutal efficiency.
In 3 panels, he defeats Blackbeard. Well, defeats. I don't know who knows what the Dark Powers could do with frickin' Blackbeard. It might just be a way to get around Magellan, for all we know.
That's an interesting thing too, right? Like, when I think about all of Blackbeard's fights so far, he always takes the first hit. Yeah. And, it's partly because, like, the dark fruit is all about, like taking in things, right? Mm-hmm. And so it feels like he has to have, like, an insane pain tolerance.
Oh, incredibly so. Like,
yeah.
Probably equivalent to Luffy's.
Yeah, and that's what, like... We still don't really know quite how it works, but I feel like it is probably not an accident that with Ace and with Luffy and now with Magellan, like he gets the first hit and is just like, ow. So I don't know where this goes from here, like how Blackbeard gets back up after it, but like, yeah. And then also this last scene
this
here
is
where
sweet.
Yeah, right?
Again, it's kind of... And any other manga, Magellan and Hannibal would kind of be the heroes, especially the way they're talking to each other. It's like, you did well for holding him back for so long. I'll take care of the rest. You better not die. You're the only one fit to succeed me. It's like, that's straight up like hero talk. Like it's really funny.
This is like Krillin and Goku here.
Yeah. And Magellan calls up after Luffy. Is like, you will not step 1 foot outside of this prison.
I almost kind of want to root for Magellan because he's kind of awesome.
He is, but again, this prison does terrible things. But again, these people might deserve it. I don't know.
Yeah, this goofy little pirate comic has such complex politics.
Mm-hmm. We have another SBS, and well, a lot of them are kind of silly, especially like more talking about how long is Korea going to be alive? She's 139, so what's that all about? It's like, I don't think you need to worry about a woman that can walk around with her belly exposed in a snow country. Is sort of the answer there. But then of all things, we get a very interesting breakdown from Oda when somebody asked about a new character design contest or a devil fruit that I came up with type of thing. We could do a poo-poo fruit. So nobody will ever be, that person will never be constipated. So it's obviously kind of a joking thing, but also half serious because of, how about you let fans design your characters? But no, he's like, it might seem cold, but I don't want anybody else's ideas. My editor jump changes from time to time, but the first thing I always say to my new editor is, do not give me any of your ideas. I want to say that all the characters in story are something that I came up with. If I start relying on one person, I could end up doing it again with another person. And if I messed up, I might end up blaming that person. So if it goes well, it's thanks to me. If it flops, it's my fault. That's something I like. But there are ideas that I want that aren't related to the main story. So if you want cover art of the members with the straw hats together with animals, like if you want this character with this animal, I'll gladly draw it. I think that's so fascinating, especially maybe you heard the stories of Toriyama.
Right, yeah, because Toriyama listened to his editors probably too much.
Yeah,
right?
And Toriyama famously fought with his editors and complained about how they overworked him and whatnot.
Yeah. I wonder too if like seniority has something to do with it. At this point, One Piece has been running for 13 or 14 years. Mm-hmm. So it makes me wonder if Oda, does he just have the power to be no, don't tell me how to tell the story.
It's obviously proven effective.
On the one hand, I feel like the least forgiving interpretation of this is ego, but I feel like the way that Oda frames it is he wants to shoulder all of the blame himself. Mm-hmm. I feel like is very telling,
because it's very different from a writer like Toriyama, where Toriyama was a master at pretty much improv, just coming up with things on the fly, having a loose idea and building out from there, and mostly making it work. Oda is a master of structure. He has everything he wants to do laid out with wiggle room to expand it, as we've seen time and time again.
Yep.
And it's an interesting comparison between the two, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like an editor's meeting with really any manga artist, but definitely those two, I feel like would be very fascinating. And it makes me wonder too, if that's how Oda sees his own ideas, I wonder how meetings with the anime staff go, for example, of where are they allowed to add, because they add and change things from the manga all the time, let alone things like the movies, like the live action show. Mm-hmm. It's very fascinating.
And the movies have to ask him hey, we want to introduce this devil fruit user. It's okay, I'm not going to do anything with that. So you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now he has more direct control with these upcoming movies. So there's that as well. Yeah. And I don't think he's bothered by fillers. It's watch out for this.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. But time for our last chapter for the set, 545 to Sunshine and Freedom. And next up is Robin. They do such terrible things. Adventure in the land of the slaves.
It looks like she's stolen a key.
Yeah, it looks like she's already making her escape. She's somehow gotten they're definitely searching for her, and Oda's not, taking advantage of. It's snowy out, yet he still has to have her top unbuttoned.
Of course, naturally, as one does.
Honestly, it doesn't surprise me she's capable of this, but I'm curious how that story's going to end.
In a weird way, this is Robin in her element.
Yeah, very much so. We start the chapter, and Buggy and his group have managed to escape to level 1 as they're wreaking havoc, cheering it on. Things are getting easier because they have so many men, and they're definitely not as strong defenses at this point. And Blackbeard,
man, it's really they're almost out.
Yeah. Honestly, I have to imagine this section is amazing for the Pirate Warriors games. I've never played any of them.
I'm sure. Yeah, I've not really put too much time into them. There's got to be an Impel Down level.
There has to be. This and the attack on Enos Lobby are perfect for that.
Yeah.
And of course, Luffy's group is still running from Magellan, who you can clearly see behind him. You got Hydra.
Yeah. Just having the Hydra in the background, man. Oh, these action panels are they're so much.
Mm-hmm. They're all running, but Magellan's right there taking out a lot of them. And this is the rats and the people who got poisoned is no, I'm not allowing you to escape. And Sadie's like, my spine hurts because she got a backbreaker on her.
That I died when I saw that panel. I was like, Ivankov, oh my god. Woohoo! Ah!
And she's Christ. Like, get up. And she gets all of the jailer beasts, all 4 of them, awake.
I'm a little sad now that I know that they might be people.
I know, right? I don't know. But maybe they're into it. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, even if they're animals, that also feels bad. But now knowing that it hits different knowing that they're devil fruit eaters.
But she's headed to level 1. Magellan's on their trails. Shiryu has destroyed all outside communication.
It looks like he just cut through it. That's
Nobody
awesome.
knows what's happening outside of Impel Down.
I never thought this is how this would end. It's incredible.
Yeah, just all these elements built on top of one another, and it's fascinating. It's like they got to get to one of the ships before the execution, and they have 4.5 hours to make it there.
Yeah, and I feel like we the giant elephant in the room is that we still have to steal a ship somehow.
Yeah.
Which feels like it's going to be a process in and of itself.
Right. We still have to get through Magellan because, yeah, not a single... Anybody behind a certain point has been captured and poisoned by Magellan. And freaking Ivankov decides, nah, I'm going to take him on, and has Inazuma block the way behind him so that Magellan can't go. And it's a showdown between Ivankov and Magellan, which is very fascinating.
I feel like Inazuma's Devil Fruit is kind of the MVP of this whole sequence, too.
Kind of. Just in terms of blocking the way or making a way forward. And you can tell it hurts Inazuma to do this, but it's like, you just got to hope they're all right.
Yeah.
And we got Ivankov injecting themselves with the hormones, turning themselves back into a man, and using his wink to take out the Hydra.
That is an interesting interaction of abilities.
Very much so. Ivankov's just like, you sure you can defeat the secrets of my new Kama karate?
Yeah. I mean, seeing this fight is cool, but also like, oh, he's buying time.
Yeah, that's all he's doing, and we just see them as like, Luffy's like, we have to go back for him. It's like, no. And this is Bon Clay, who wanted to rescue Ivankov. It's like, no, that's all for the more reason for us to keep moving. We have to believe in the power of the miracle worker. And Crocodile's just noting, it's like, where are the security personnel? It's like, I don't see any prisoners. Someone must have freed them. So they're figuring out other stuff, what's going on. And we go back, and poor Ivankov, their face is melting from the poison. Not.
Yeah. Well, and I love that there's no crowd here, so he's talking to himself saying, you're not melting, you got us again.
It's so good. Protected by that thick layer of makeup, he's ready to take on Magellan again. Is like obviously just buying time. We get the hair removal fist as they're about to clash, and Inazuma's waiting behind just to see who comes out, and he sees the crash, and he's like, oh, thank goodness, Iva. And nope.
No.
Venom Road. Iva's been taken out, and here comes Magellan to take on Inazuma, and he's just lashing pieces of floor at Magellan, just trying to keep him at bay.
Yeah, like Magellan really, he feels like such a force of nature in these sequences, or it's just like nothing can stop him right now.
Right. It's damn near impossible, and it gets even harder. Like, Buggy was feeling so confident, but here comes Sadie and the jailer beasts, and they're taking out all of his men.
Yeah, and then as they're running, Buggy just bumps into Crocodile, which I find funny because he's made of sand.
Yeah, and that's when
maybe
Mr.
Buggy's got that hockey.
And Crocodile still does not like Mr. 3. It's like, what's a worthless piece of trash like you doing here?
Yeah.
He's like, oh God, he's loose.
Yeah, he's got that beef.
But then here comes Straw Hat and Jinbei, freaking them both out with their eye popping. And
yeah, I love that. Like, that's Jinbei.
And Luffy just turns like, oh, I'm sure glad you guys are okay, which just pierces their hearts.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite comic tropes, is when the word balloon stabs through a person.
It's like,
they
oh
just
God,
can't
he's
take
so
it.
nice.
Yeah. Well, Luffy's nice, but here comes this Bucky calls it weirdos, and Mr. 2, who kicks a bow. He's like, how dare you abandon us back there?
It's like, oh, this is bad. And the guards that are remaining is like, okay, the prisoners from level 4 are here. Did they manage to get away from Magellan? The different groups are joining. And then all of a sudden, here comes the Hydra once again. And both Iva and Inazuma have been taken out by Magellan. They cannot stop him.
Yeah, and poor Luffy, he's ready to fight.
Mm-hmm. And Magellan, again, showing how much he's just in control of things, even though stuff is really bad. It's like, they want a ship. Send all the ships away immediately.
Yeah, he got him figured out.
Yeah, he's like, we got to hurry. Jinbei's like, we got to go. We have to get out of here before those ships get away. And that's when the Hydra shows up and Mr. 3 stepping up with his candle wall actually blocking the poison. He's like, your sentimentality makes me sick. I do one little favor for you and you think we're friends, but I don't want to owe you anything, so get out of here because I can't hold out for long.
Man, everybody's working together, man. Even the characters who don't want to. Seeing Mr. 3 step up in the situation is great. Man.
Yeah, because I don't think Mr. 3's gotten a hero moment yet.
Not really. Yeah, because he's been more like sneaky, if anything. And again, just running off with Buggy. So just everybody kind of getting their moment. It's just great. And this was 5 chapters. It felt like 10.
It's just action after action. And I mean, it's honestly, it feels like it could go for 10 more. Yeah. Just with how much of a fight is it going to be with Magellan? Like, you got Jinbei and Crocodile with you now, but it hasn't seemed to matter too much.
Yeah, that's what I found so fascinating about this. Like, and I know, I feel like we love a good villain here on this podcast. I feel like that really, it can sway how we feel about certain arcs, but I feel like there's something about, like, Magellan kind of has it all. I feel like he's got the sympathetic edge to him. He's funny. He clearly cares about his subordinates, and he is just an unstoppable truck. I feel like he has not really been on the back foot once, and it is only because he has to poop a lot.
We do have an SBS, and somebody's like, okay, I thought about this when I saw Iva, but I'd like to see a gender swap of all the Straw Hats. Would you please draw it seriously? I repeat, seriously.
Seriously.
And we got female Luffy, who just looks like Nami.
Yeah.
I do love I'll eat some salad, become the Pirate King.
Sure, why not?
Although I like that female Nami looks like Sanji and female Sanji looks like Nami.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Usopp looks like his mom.
He does. I think that's pretty much directly taken from his mom. So that's pretty funny. And I love how Frankie and Robin are just switched.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Although the question mark on Brook is fantastic.
Yeah, it's just like,
Still, he'd still have the afro.
Yeah. Like, Chopper doesn't seem to have. Well, I mean,
they got eyelashes and a bit of a dress.
Yeah, not as different as you would think, but he's already cute enough already.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Wow. Can you tell we're on a roll here? We've just been nonstop hour and 20 minutes. Like, it's only when it's all action, but there's so much to talk about even amongst all this action.
Yeah, that's the crazy part to me. I really thought this was going to be a shorter one. And I know I went off a little bit. There's, just all of the fun little details, the random teases that won't get resolved for about 400 chapters. It's just like, all right,
But also some, like, good motivation for Hannyabal, like, what you wouldn't expect.
Like, there's some legitimately good character moments for the villains amongst all the action, which is not an easy thing to do when there's all this other stuff happening.
Mm-hmm. Trust me, as somebody who, when I read through this the first time, it's extremely easy to miss because you're just like, you want to see what happens next. You just go, go, go.
Yeah, and that's sort of the thing too. Like, again, the purpose of this podcast, to take things slow and to really digest all of the details. You don't get that, especially now. Like, if I was reading this on my own, I would want to be like, all right, I'm just gonna keep going because the action keeps building up on itself. But
we've said it many times, we're dying to read the next chapters. We want to.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. Woo!
Yeah. Another long one. But yeah, with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 541 to 545 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. And I actually just, like, real quick, I wanted to shout out, like, our YouTube comments for this podcast, because I feel like, you know, both of us, like, we are imperfect individuals, you know, who miss things and forget things. And I feel like the folks commenting on YouTube, like, are always clutch with, you know, pointing out things that we may have forgotten or missed. And you know, what One Piece is such a dense manga that I really appreciate that, like, people are willing to be like, hey, you know, just to point out, you know, even coming in with their own thoughts and stuff too.
Yeah. And like when we were like, when did Ace meet with Buggy? And it was actually during the chapters where we checked in with Buggy at one point and Ace just showed up. I forget. I'm blanking again on when exactly that happened, but they did meet outside of his chapter pages.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was like somewhere after Skypiea.
Yeah. Or maybe I want to say it was Jaya, but I don't remember. see, that's what's so helpful about having a small community of people on YouTube. You know, just like
I do my best to remember all these little details, but we've gone through 500 plus chapters in 2 years, so
yeah, exactly. So even at this, you know, relaxed pace that we go at, like, it is almost impossible to keep track of it all. And so I really appreciate that. And so I don't know, I reading the comments every week.
And really anybody who comments, like whether on the podcast or on YouTube or wherever on the Patreon, it's appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you. And hey, if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at the Patreon at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 546 to 550 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
You're stronger than I expected, Straw Hat. You got more hockey than you did last time.
Your name is Blackbeard, you said.
Huh?
Then you're the nameless pirate I've heard so much about. The one who was part of Whitebeard's crew until he took my place as warlord. But this is rather odd. Surely they summoned you to Navy headquarters for the execution. So why are you here?